appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by the talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful south coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Coos County. Hey, Oregon. Hello, America. And beyond. We don't want to leave anyone out. Those intergalactic travelers, you're more than welcome to tune into my podcast because I don't discriminate. Everyone's allowed. And I think we got two aliens who are definitely going to be we're going to be talking about. And those two aliens just did a debate. They're, and I don't know if they're so much space alien as they're just alien to what most of us live in a regular, normal life. These are probably the two most, the two largest unique individuals in the world. I mean, one has been living his life as a politician all of his life, most of his life, and that's Biden. Joe Biden has been a consummate politician. He's been in politics for a long time. I don't think he's ever actually worked in his life. I'd have to go back and find out. And then you've got Trump, who's lived the lifestyle of the rich and famous most of his life. And so you look at these two men, and they are probably the two most unique people you will see anywhere, because that's what level we're at when we're talking about presidents and the presidential debate. If you didn't know, we are pre-recording this show, and we're going to be talking about the presidential debate because I just watched it, and we're going to be broadcasting this on Friday because there's a lot of relative things that we're going to talk about within this podcast besides just the debate that we just watched. And I wanted to get my guests' first reactions for the debate fresh. I wanted it to be fresh. I wanted it to be spontaneous. And so that's why I'm glad that I was able to catch him right at the time when the debate was happening, and he could speak right afterwards. And that's why I'm pre-recording this on Thursday. And I'm going to play a section of the debate, the opening of the debate first. Let's see if I can get that up and going here. You know me, what can I say? It's difficult times.
Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen. President Biden will be appearing on the right. A coin toss determines their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response is at the moderator's discretion.
When it's time for a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on and his opponent's microphone will be turned off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes, props, or contact with campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation to debate, both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
How are you? Great to be here. Thank you.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters.
All right, enough of that. Enough of that. I'm going to bring on my guest tonight, and that, of course, is Chris Brumbles. Chris Brumbles, there you saw at the beginning of the debate, and you watched 90 minutes of it, and it was interesting because you never knew when Biden was going to fall asleep, and you never knew when Trump was going to zap him, and that was pretty much what I was waiting for. And watching him walk in, Biden looked like a beat up old man. You know what I mean? He looked like a beat up old man. And Trump came walking in, and he looked a little hunched over until he stood up and straightened up. And so I don't know. That's just what I noticed from the beginning. But once they got going, Trump was great, and Biden continuously looked like a crazy old man.
Sorry about that. I had a phone call. Yeah, I got to tell you, Trump has been going and going and going and going. I don't blame him for being a little bit hunched over. I mean, he was given, I don't know how many speeches he gave today, but I'll tell you right now, I'm biased. I'm biased because I'm a patriot. I can't stand what Biden has done to this country. I do think he stole this election. I've looked at all the evidence. To me, it's obvious, and I do think, Trump in my lifetime is the best president we ever had. We had the greatest economy, lowest unemployment, and it just goes on and on and on. And my commander in chief was Ronald Reagan. So that's saying something.
Right. That is saying something. Up till Trump took office, I would agree with you that Ronald Reagan was one of the greatest presidents that this country had ever seen, and Trump has just blown that out of the water with his exposing the deep state, exposing the swamp, and what he did during his first term. He came out fighting for all of us at a time when this country is still going through a change. It's going through that Marxist takeover. There's no denying it. It's happening. It's still happening.
We can't allow that, no matter what.
Yeah. And he knows this, and he's fighting against that. And that's what I like about this man, because he doesn't pull any punches. He says it the way he believes it. And I thought all of his answers, there were a couple of them that I think I would disagree whether it's true or not, but he was confident in saying them when I could sit here, and there were quite a few things that Biden had lied about. Once again, the economy, the way he talked about the economy was a complete lie. It was a sham. And what is going to happen, because what he's done during his presidency, allowing 19 to 30 million new people in this country, is going to destroy the lower economic rung of people in this country. And that's going to eat its way up thoroughly. So,
and let's face it, a lot of these people are our worst enemies. They hate our guts. I mean, they're finding dog tags from ISIS in Arab countries down there on the border. These are soldier age people coming in over here, and it can't be for anything good. Now, I got to tell you, I'm proud of Trump because he didn't really attack Biden. I call him Biden because I'm pretty sure Obozo is leading him. I'm pretty sure that he doesn't even know what the hell he's doing half the time. And yeah, like I said before, and he was very presidential. I mean, he wasn't just attack. It was Joe that was doing the ad hominem attacks the whole time. That's all he had. That's all I had is, you're stupid, you're a liar, you're this, you're that. And then he would take credit for everything Trump did. I made the greatest economy. Really, is this the greatest economy you ever been in?
Right. Right. Yeah. I don't know what. I think I just paid almost $5 for a carton of eggs at the store. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When Trump was in, you get a gallon of gas for what? $1.49, $1.50.
Yep.
I've never seen gas be $5 a gallon in the summertime.
Yep.
They usually wait until the holidays or around July, stuff like that, start jacking. It's been nonstop. This is what butt crack insane Obozo wanted, and I think he's the one that's doing all the policies. And
are you now? I often wonder. I do think it's the same people who are behind Obama who are behind Biden himself. I don't know how much Obama, in effect, is in charge of anything other than taking directions from the same people who controlled him and the same people who controlled Biden.
Well, it could be. Regardless, it's a bunch of Marxists running this country.
That's right.
They're trying to destroy us. They're destroying the middle class. They killed our soldiers in Afghanistan. They made us look like fools, destroyed our economy, letting an army come in over our border.
Right.
But getting back to the debate, there's a couple notes I took here. Let me see. So, there's a couple things I would have said, like when he called Trump a felon, I would have probably responded, well, evidently you're too old and feeble to be a felon because they won't even try you.
They won't even try him because he's too old and feeble to withstand cross-examination in a trial. And so, we can't even try him because I wish I had that excuse. Everywhere I'd go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just too old and feeble to hold that door open. You know what I mean? And then he turns around and tries to convince us that he has all of his capabilities and can run this country. I'm not sure which Biden we are talking with, but it seems like a duopoly of a presidency there.
Yeah. Well, he also said there was he said there was 159 people who voted that Trump was the worst president ever. And I would ask them, were they standing next to 51 spies?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The spies that accused him of Russiagate. And the funny thing is, we know that one of those spies was sitting there, asking him questions.
So why?
How brave do you have to be to go in there with no audience,
right?
With people that hate you? You're debating against three people. Actually, I was surprised at CNN. They were a hell of a lot better than I thought they would be.
I think they did better than Mike Wallace did in that first debate of the last time they ran against each other. But to bring it back to Dana Bash's husband was one of the ones who signed the letter saying he was, as an intelligence officer, is saying that, which is a more moronic thing to call himself an intelligence officer, was claiming that the laptop was Russian disinformation. Of course, that's their favorite word, disinformation. And she's in there conducting the debate. And I was blown away with the ability of President Trump not even to mention that. He didn't even say nothing about that. That was pretty, because we all knew.
Wasn't Dana Bash one of the 51 people that's right. Russia.
Yeah, well, no, she was, no, I believe her husband was. She was married to a guy who was one of the intelligence officers.
Yeah, because I was listening to Dan Bongino a little while ago, and I could have swore he said that is that a her or a him? Because he called it, he said Dana, not Dana. I don't know.
I believe Dana Bash was hosting the show. Yeah.
So, I mean, basically, Biden did what leftists always do. They blame you of everything they do, and they throw pejoratives. That's what they do. That's all they can do. They try to keep it from the truth because the truth beats them. Truth and courage beats the left every time.
Well, and that's why if the fact checkers stay true to what they claim is checking facts, we can argue that. But the fact is if they stay true to actually checking those facts, they're going to find out Biden lied on several different things, and he even lied on the border. I mean, the way he was talking about the border is that you got 2 people crossing a day at the most, and it was just. Once again, him making these claims and talking about, this was the one that got me. He claimed that Border Patrol endorsed him. I'm glad Trump switched that around because Border Patrol endorsed Donald Trump, not President Biden.
Right. Well, I think he lied about, I can't think of one time he told the truth, honestly. I mean, right. I really can't. I mean, he got Trump's name right. That's about it.
Well, and that was so that was the most impressive thing to me, is the fact that he was able to make it 90 minutes through that debate and no severe flubs. You know what I mean?
No. Do you see the last 30 minutes? He started slipping. He did.
But he didn't do the, how he talks off his sentences and doesn't make any sense. There were a couple of times when they started asking him a question when it went over time where he just looked like in the camera, like he didn't know what the hell was happening.
Yeah. Well, he's got access to the best drugs in the world, man.
Yes.
And if you looked at his eyes, I mean, he doesn't look like he's all there. He really doesn't. He
had some dark pupils. He really has some dark pupils.
Aliens do, man. You called him an alien.
Reptilian, I guess. That's I don't know, but he didn't look right. No matter, you know what I mean. He at several times he just looked like he was completely confused and had no idea where he was at. And then you looked at the cut because they had two camera angles, one on Biden, one on Trump, which was great because there were people saying, "Oh no, Trump's not. Biden isn't going to even be there. This is going to be a replay of them asking him questions." And I'm like, no, I don't. CNN isn't that stupid. And so the president, Trump, looked like he was in charge. He was very confident. He was very calm, cool, and collected, which was my favorite thing. I was worried he was going to blow up.
Very
and the best thing he did, stayed cool.
Yeah, and I know that he probably, like, I would want to destroy the guy.
Yeah.
But I do think he's become a lot more presidential and a lot more confident in the job. Of course, he don't have the job yet, but hopefully he will in 5 or 6 months.
I totally agree with that, and I think he's learned a lot through the past 4 years and the 4 years he was president. But I also think that this last year of him going through all those trials, you know how it is in a courtroom. You know that when you go in there, you got to be on your best behavior because you're facing a judge, and no matter how much that judge is a scumbag, you still have to show the utmost respect, or you're going to get screwed. And I think that's kind of where he built up this ability to completely ignore what Biden was saying and going off on him. You know what I mean? I think there was that part of sitting through the trials that had made him look, I can do this now and look even more presidential, because I think he won, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, he smoked
that debate. Yeah.
It wasn't even close. But I have no respect for judges anymore. I don't. And the last time I went into court, I got to be a witness, and I tore the court up. And the judge didn't stop me. I couldn't believe it, so I just kept going. But I wouldn't stand when she came in. They say, all rise. I thought, you know what? She works for me. I'm not standing.
Were you on trial?
No, somebody else was, but I was testifying against some chick that we both know, or we know of, And then at the end, my wife tested against that chick too and brought in 250 I'm just guessing, I'm guessing about 250 text messages to prove everything she was saying. And at the end, the judge, we talked about, I was on your show before it was the Stout trial, and the judge she was a gay nut job, and she was partial to women, and she just called everybody who testified liars and, just gave her the case. Which, you should have been to the court and heard the evidence. There was a lot of evidence. I don't see how. I just don't trust courts at all. And if I was one of them J6 defendants defendants, I think I would. And in Washington D.C., I think I would just walk out of the courtroom or tell them to go to hell. Just go ahead and convict me. This is a joke. This is a star chamber. This is a kangaroo court, man. I'm not going to get any justice here. And what do you got to lose?
You have nothing to lose. I wouldn't confess to anything, but you're right. I wouldn't participate in the January 6 hearings whatsoever. They called me to trial. Yeah, I'd be the same. I'd just tell the judge to go fuck himself. Yeah. I'm sitting here and I'm going to read my magazine, eat my mush, and I'm going to, work out in the workout room here, whatever I got to do. But I'm not going to be part of this kangaroo court.
Right. That breaks my heart, man, because I read about those guys all the time. They've been tortured. They've been starved. They've been some of them didn't. One of the guys die. I know that one guy lost the.
Didn't one just kill himself?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure one just died though. One of them got beat so bad as he lost his eye. And people in there with serious diseases not getting medical treatment. Yeah. And I've never been to jail in D.C., but I've been to jail in Baltimore, Maryland. That was it looked like there was this much gum on the bottom of the floor. It was just scuzzy. It looked like rats lived there. I was in a cell with this when I was in the Army. I got in trouble for something, DUI or something, and there was six beds, I believe, and there was about 18 people in there. Guys passed out around the toilet, other guys pissing on them. It's just disgusting. Just, I mean, I thank the good Lord there was night court so I could get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I spent almost a night in jail. I finally got someone to show up and to bail me out, but it was almost morning before I got out of there, and they got me processed and all that good stuff. And they were getting ready to send me on upstairs, in the orange jumpsuit and stuff. And luckily I got bailed out just in the nick of time. But here's what happened the first time I went to, I've only been to jail once, but the time I did go to jail, they put me in this cell with two gangbangers. And the first thing they say to me is they go, watch the window. Tell us if the guard's coming. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. And I look back at them, and they're cutting up 2 lines of some white powder on the bench. Yeah. It's like, what? Wait a minute. They're in here doing what they were convicted of or arrested for. It was like, oh my God, this is.
Dude, I've been to jail probably. I mean, I haven't been to jail in 38 years or something, but I've been to jail about 50 times, mostly for fighting. And I'd get in. Well, and I've got thrown in jail by my ex-wife, who made up a story to get me thrown in jail. And I remember being in Monterey County Jail for 27 days because they would not let me out because I wouldn't plead guilty because I didn't do anything.
Right.
And there was 300 Mexicans in my cell. There was like 11 white guys and maybe 9 black guys. And the white guys and the black guys hung out together,
right.
Back to back because you never knew. And I pissed off this one gangbanger, and they were going to shank me. So I didn't sleep for the last 3 days. And I went up and actually to the leader and challenged him, here's my address. Tell him to come over to my house. No, he's staying in jail for 2 years. He don't care about that. He wants to get you here. Well,
yeah.
Do it when it ain't going to happen when I'm awake. But
right.
I was a lot bigger and stronger and tougher back then too.
Nice to be young again. But that's funny how we're talking about that because that did come up during the debate and we knew it would. He called President Trump a felon. And it was Trump's response was great, and you knew he was going to. That's why they did it. And I love the fact that he kept pointing out the 2-tier justice system where, he's being treated one way and the January Sixers is a good example. They're being treated one way, but yet you've got people in Antifa who've burnt down federal buildings, who've actually caused real damage, who are being let off nonstop for any of the charges they've been arrested for. And so I thought it was great. And the one thing I did get a little annoyed about is from Trump is that he didn't mention the protesters in the streets calling for the death of Israel, calling for the death of Jews. I mean, I think that was something he definitely should have mentioned, that this is happening under Biden, and it's the
he did. He brought up the Palestinians running around in this country. He did bring it up. I mean, he didn't expand on it too much, but he did bring it up.
Yeah, he should have gone further than that because I think that's part of the reason I think a lot of people in the Democratic Party are now moving away from the extreme leftists. That's why over the last this past week where we saw a lot of radical leftist Democrats, I forget the guy's name who pulled the fire alarm. He just lost his seat. He's from the Squad. And he just lost his seat, but several other high-profile Democrats who are extremists just lost to moderate Democrats in the party. And I think it would have behooved Trump to mention that, you're the one who's talking to Biden. You're the one who's now the president of a country that have people actually calling for the genocide of the Jewish race. And it just blows my mind because I didn't think we'd ever live in a time after this. We're just not that far from World War II where we're hearing them call for the death of the Jews.
Yeah. First of all, I don't believe personally, you and I differ on that. I don't believe there's any such thing as a moderate. and I definitely don't think there's a moderate in the Democrat Party. That's just my opinion. I mean, we're entitled to our own opinions, and I think
you don't think that there's some Democrats who are a little less extreme than the extreme?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying there's not some that are less extreme, but when I think of moderate, I think that, like, here's what first thing comes to my mind. You can't sit on a fence because you'll get a fence post up your ass. You can't be for guns and against guns at the same time. You either are for or against gun control. You're either for or against abortion. You can't be both. To me, somebody who's playing moderate is a sellout, and they're really a leftist because they'll do. I mean, like, one of your favorite people. Oh, what's his name? Shoot, doggone it, David Brock Smith.
Oh,
he's a leftist, dude. He's not. I mean, some people might call him. Yeah, he's a freaking leftist. And whether he knows it or not, he's either a communist or a useful idiot for them.
Oh, he's a useful idiot. He's not a very intelligent man. He's a useful idiot. And 45% of the people who voted in the last election in that district didn't vote for him. He won by 55%, which is a good majority. But the fact is that it was all Republicans voting, and 45% of the Republicans didn't want him back in the office. And,
how did he win so big? Because, I mean, y'all put out, I mean, he was getting attacked pretty good. Of course, he had a lot of other, I'll say, leftoids helping him, the pretend, or rhinos, whatever you want to call them.
We started a war in the Republican Party. And, you know,
I hate to tell you, but OFF started a war in the Republican Party several years ago, and we haven't stopped.
You know, it was tailed on to the OFF's, because I have always come to Kevin's defense and OFF's defense, Oregon Firearms Federation. And so it was kind of a tag on from what they had already done to you guys. And it was nice because once they attacked me and they went after certain prominent people in the Douglas County Republican Party, that's when people really started picking sides. And I don't think that it was nearly as divided under the OFF thing as it is now, because they came after, they recalled 6 of their own committee members from the Douglas Republican Party who were the best, most active members, who were America First Trump people, and they recalled them all on lies.
Dude, I've talked to Iverson. You know what he told me this a couple years ago? He said, because I was talking about principled Republicans. You got to get principled Republicans. He said, we want the Senate to look like the House. I said, what do you mean? Like all women? And he goes, yeah. And I said, how the hell is that working out for you? How about you just pick the best person? So in my mind, what he's saying is, if your woman will support you, if you're a black woman, will support you more. If you're a gay black woman, well, you're the one we want. Right. And I have nothing against somebody being gay. They want to be gay, whatever. But I think they're mentally insane, and I don't think they're fit for an office. If you don't believe me, look at all these states that have gay governors and see how they're doing.
Right.
They are mentally insane. They only care about ideology. They don't give a damn about the people. And they want to force you. They're forcing fascism on everybody. Controlled speech, DEI, which we'll talk about with what's her name in a little while. But it's just, I mean, I don't care what they do in their bedroom, but don't shove it down my throat. I don't go out and stick my tongue down my wife's throat while I'm walking down the street.
Right.
And I sure as hell don't push them to be heterosexual.
We've got a city councilor in Coos Bay who's openly bisexual. And of course, he has to bring that up every time I have him on the podcast or the radio show. He just has to mention something about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's moderate bisexual.
Yeah, moderate. He's a moderate. He's not even a Democrat, though. I'll give him that. He's a non-affiliated voter. So at least he's smart enough to know that. And I told him, I said, I worked with your manager for the last 20 years, your city manager. His name is Roger Craddock. And the only thing I know about Roger Craddock is he's your city manager. I don't even know if he has a wife. And I don't even want to know if he has a sex life.
None of my business.
It's none of my damn business. Why is it you have to bring that out and bring it up? For some reason, you have to use that as some type of shield to, I don't know, protect yourself against the fascists that you're worried about, and also virtue signal to the woke people you want to defend. But that's the only reason you're mentioning it, because most of the people that I've worked with in the city of Coos Bay, I don't even know if they're straight, gay, asexual. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That's why, it's like our governor, Tina
Right.
Kotek. I would never have to know her sexuality. I could probably guess it by the men's suit she wears and the haircut. I think I could guess it, but she never has to tell us what that was all about. And then she tried to put her wife in some position that somehow she has authority over certain departments, and part of them is, and we'll talk about this in a minute, the DEI committee and all that other crap.
Well, so since we've mentioned a couple times, if you don't mind, I'd like to bring up a lady.
Let's go there.
So this chick named Kelly Jo Smith. Well, first of all, let me back up a little bit. We were looking for a good county commissioner. We couldn't get any of the good people to run. So my buddy comes up and says, "What about Kelly Jo Smith?" And I go, "Dude, I mean, she always pretends like she's on everybody's side. You know, one of those kind of people. She's re-registered, I believe, as an NAV or an independent, one of the two. But she always pretends like she's on everybody's side, and she doesn't. During the I said, go ahead if you want, but I think we're going to regret it. I think she's a leftist. In fact, I know she is, but we thought she was a controllable leftist. You know, we didn't think she would go off because she's afraid for confrontation. So even when we go do the debates and stuff, she didn't really say nothing. All she ever said, she ran on basically her platform was, "I'm a good listener. I'm pretty. Vote for me." That's about what I mean. She didn't say I'm pretty, but you know what I mean. But basically, that's all she ever said was, "Well, I'm a good listener, and I listen to everybody." And she really never had any substance, but she had so many friends here, she got elected. What happened there?
So I'm putting
the one on the far right
screen. Yeah, the one on the far right. Okay.
Yeah. And so, anyways, evidently she didn't listen too well, because I went to a county commissioner meeting about 4 weeks ago, and I told her I have spies. I heard that she was going to push DEI. And for people who don't know what DEI is, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. I personally think it's a euphemism for now my brain's going, for delusion embracing insanity. That's what I think it is. And like Bongino said a couple hours ago, we should just call it DIE, because that's what it does to the country and the counties and everything.
Right.
I went in there and told her it's unconstitutional. It violates your oath of office. It's divisive. It's destructive. It's killing our country. Oregon spent tens of millions of dollars on this and hired hundreds of people to do this. And all it does is divide us and destroy our country. And I said, I'm not going to put up with that. If you do this, I'm going to recall you. And so what did she do? I hear she's going to, put it in at a county commissioner meeting. So I went down there and said, all right, told everybody, because they record those on the radio. I said, I'm going to recall you now. You left me no choice. You said you ran on a platform of, I'm a good listener. Evidently, you didn't listen. I told you what I was going to do. So I got to start doing that here pretty soon. But, she's also on the school board, which makes me a bit nervous, because now that means she's going to push it to these kids?
She's already pushing it to the kids. I guarantee you. Yeah. The teachers are already brainwashed, and they're pushing it to the kids. And I'm willing to bet if there are any conservatives, the teachers and the administration are hiding this stuff from the school board, because that's what they're doing in North Bend. That's
not their damn job. That's not their job, man.
Right.
And the funny thing, then I found out, and this is going to be the first time anybody heard this, and I don't care if everybody thinks I'm a a-hole, because that's what I am. But she's got all these kids, she's got I don't know, 7 kids or something. She got a bunch, and some of them are adopted. One of them is a black girl, and because she has a black girl, she thinks everybody's racist. I've sat down and talked to her about this. Just because you have a black kid doesn't mean everybody's racist. And she even talked about that diversity and equity, which is the opposite of equality and all that crap before. And I said, don't bring that shit in the county, even before she ran. But this girl of hers at the school a couple weeks ago beat the hell out of another girl. And come to find out, it was the 3rd time. She grabbed her head and was pounding it in the pavement. I heard it so bad the girl has to get surgery, or if she may have already had surgery, and I'm pretty sure she can get sued over that. But so maybe I'm thinking she shouldn't be on the school board and the county commission. She should be home training her kids. I don't know. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
But I mean, so obviously she is a cancer, and she's going to spread it to her kids, and her kids are going to spread it through school and be entitled. I'm just tired of this crap. It's racist too. And I went in there and called her a racist. I said, yeah, this is racist against white Caucasians. It absolutely is. You and I are the most discriminated people on the earth now.
Yep. And we're a minority. If you look at the Caucasian ethnicity, as if you looked at it as group, because Caucasians and white people are different, Irish from Italian to Germans,
right.
We all have different types of categories. And yeah, we as a group of people, because I believe we're all one race, human race, and we just got,
obviously, and you're a racist because you said that, dadgummit.
Yeah, and I'm a racist because I said that. But
right.
White people, like you said, make up like I was going to say, make up the minority of people on this planet. There are more brown and yellow people on this planet than there are white people. How we can be the oppressors and the abusers when we're the minorities.
Yeah, it's cultural Marxism. You know that.
It is.
They tried the haves against the have-nots. It didn't work. So now they're going with the oppressed against the oppressors, and the white guy's the oppressor. Right. And you know that. We both studied this.
And that's why I keep telling people, remember, everything that they're claiming is an issue is not about the issue. No. Whatever they're doing is never it's all about the revolution. It's all about they're worried about the Hamas. They don't give a shit about the Hamas. It's just another reason for them to protest. They see George Floyd get killed. They really don't give a shit about George Floyd, but it's another reason to protest. So the issue is never about the issue. It's about their revolution.
It's about increasing power, increasing support, and it's about total control. That's what it's about: total social and political control. And we got to stop. The way you beat it is truth and courage. If you don't mind telling the truth, even if you get called a racist, they have no power. See, that's the thing. Deception is their strength, but it's also their Achilles heel. Because if their deception gets pointed toward the truth,
right,
they got nothing, and they'll run away, or they'll try to change the subject or whatever. And that's why they can't attack me here, because I make them stay on the subject, and I make them point them to the truth.
I thought it was interesting. I was thinking about it. I got canceled off the radio. I got canceled by a Republican, but I've watched a lot of people in the last 5 or 6 years get canceled completely. They got canceled off of social media. They got canceled off their TV, their radio shows. A lot of people got canceled. Yet simultaneously, we have now come up with this technology. Like what I'm working with right now is StreamYard. And I don't know their political affiliation, but if they kick me off, I'll just find another streaming service, one that is right-leaning, because they do exist. Yeah. And I will continue on the internet. And I think it was, I don't know what it is. We just got so lucky that we're in a time where we can project and tell our story through this other venue called the internet on millions and millions of different places. And if they would have had that back in 1932 Germany, they might have been able to thwart off the fascist control that took over that country, because there would have been another arm in the country trying to tell people, look, this is all a play. This is they're reeling us in, and this is part of the blueprint of them destroying a country, this color revolution that's going on. Right. And in Germany, in the Weimar Republic, you had the National Socialist fighting the International Socialist, the commies against the Nazis. Yeah. And there was
by the way.
What?
I'm glad you said that, by the way.
Yeah, because that's what it is. Yeah, it's the National Socialist.
They're all communists, even the Nazis.
They're all communists. Yeah. Even Nazis. They're Nazi commies. And there were people like Mises, Ludwig von Mises, and other people who were saying, no, wait, we need to be more like America. We need to have open markets where everyone can participate. We don't want more government. We don't want more control. We want maximum freedom so everyone can have opportunity, because opportunity is how we achieve. And they didn't have that back in 1932. And it's kind of nice that we have this now, because even though it's a lot of the crap that they're spreading, this wokeness, is through TikTok and all that kind of shit. Yeah. At least we have our channels. You know, you and me, Chris, we're going to be seen by 1,000+ people. You know, it's not a big audience, but it's an audience that's going to talk and keep telling the story.
Yeah. And 1,000 people, that's what one person translate. They talk to people and they talk to people, and it's actually like one person is like 10,000 people. So times that by 1,000.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'm not so sure if it would have done any good if they would have had the internet back then, because look now, we got the internet now and people don't remember their history. We have the benefit of looking back on history. We can see the Nazis and what the Russians did, what they did in Venezuela, what they did in China.
Right.
And you still got these idiots, this younger generation that is trying to give away their rights. And they're saying communism, they want communism. They don't even know what it is.
Nope.
And the problem is, I think our problem is, I mean, the media and the schools. They got into our schools, they got in the media, and they're just brainwashing all these kids. But if you ever read that, have you ever read what was it, what was he? Lutheran minister in Nazi Germany. He got hung because they thought he was trying to kill Hitler. He wrote an essay on stupidity.
Yeah.
He said the Nazis, he thought it was stupidity that drove everybody, because, and stupidity was not the lack of education, it was the lack of morals. And I think he's right. And you got a bunch of people without morals. And look, the left, they're not like us. No. We can go and talk to 10 of them and just have a conversation, but they can't. They'll start screaming. They want to kill you. They want to hang you. If you disagree with them, you know, it's like they have their own religion. It's like, I mean, leftism is a religion.
And get back into the conversation of morality. Okay. Look at what they're pushing. They're looking at pushing abortion all the way up past birth. I mean, they're talking about infanticide. You know, that's
pedophilia as a sexual preference.
And you can be born a boy, but yet we can turn you into a girl just by cutting off parts, adding parts, and giving you some drugs. Like, that's going to change anything. And then
my buddy said to me today, he said, "There's no such thing as gender. There's only sex, male or female." And I think he's right. I'm going to look back in some old, like 1828 dictionary and see if they even had the word gender back then, because it may be a made up word.
Gender, you know, I don't know where it came from. I don't know what it fits a description of. And I do know what you're saying, that there are boys who will grow up acting effeminate, and you've got girls who will grow up being masculine. I mean, it just happens. But to be pushing this on the level that they're pushing it and encouraging it, because we know by the studies, and we're talking now several big studies that have come out of Europe and have come out of this country and Canada, that are now saying that most of these kids who have sexual dysphoria grow out of that by the time they're 12, 13, even younger. Right. And so all we got to do is just wait a little bit, and they will figure it out. And
my daughter had 3 brothers, and she was a tomboy. But she was never masculine, but she was a tomboy, and she's tough, and she's a second degree black belt, and she can shoot the balls off a fly, and she climbed trees. And I remember one day walking out in the yard. She was probably about 4 years old, and I hear Dad, and I look up. She's like 50 feet in a tree and just dove. She knew I'd catch her. Scared the shit out of me, but I caught her. She's just crazy, and she's still tough, but she is the most feminine woman you ever saw too, when she wants to be. But I have no problem with girls playing boy games, but they're not boys. I mean, and they're trying to cut their boobs off and give them hormones, and so that 2 years from now they'll want to kill themselves.
Yeah, well, you can put a tail on me and it still doesn't make me a monkey. You know what I mean?
It's put a biscuit in the oven. I hear you.
It's just nuts that they think that they can change someone by giving these and as far as I'm concerned, it's child mutilation, it's sexual mutilation. And in fact, there was a report put out by the FBI where they were condemning genital mutilation by other countries. There are countries who, and usually these are African countries, who cut off the clitoris of women so they have no sexual satisfaction. This is a true practice. It's horrible. It's disgusting. And yet they completely missed the sexual mutilation that's going on in our own country. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah. I don't know. Is it cutting off some young boy's penis or cutting off a women's breast, young girl's breast, any different than cutting off young women's clitoris? I mean, that's just, wow. That just blows my mind.
It's disgusting. And what I was going to say is you can put a cat in an oven, don't make it a biscuit. But anyways, it's kind of late. There you go. But yeah, I feel bad for those kids. Those kids are being brainwashed. They're being indoctrinated, and they're being taught anti-human nature is what they're doing. And someday it's going to come back to haunt them hard, because you know as well as I do, you can't run from human nature. You just can't.
No, you can't. And I think it comes back. So let's switch this subject up, because there were a lot of things that we wanted to talk about. And the Supreme Court has come out with several different I hate to call them rulings. They're decisions. They don't rule.
They're opinions.
Yeah, they're opinions. And in fact, that's what they're called when they're released, the Supreme Court's opinions.
Well, that title you got there, I think, is misrepresentative of the case, but
they all were.
Yeah.
And I want you to explain this if you remember.
So I do. I got a couple notes here just in case I forget. But Rahimi was a case where they took a violent. He was a career thug, basically. He was a violent guy, and he got his guns taken because he had a restraining order on him. Well, there's a reason why Garland picked this one, because he was trying to destroy. He was trying to destroy Bruin. What is it? The
Bruin ruling.
Yeah. Well, the Bruin methodology, that's what I was looking for. Text, history, and tradition.
Okay.
So evidently this guy had a history of violence, but what some people don't know is he actually had a court date. He went to court and he signed over his guns. So this is not a red flag law by any means, but I think that's kind of what they were trying to get, like make red flag laws okay. And the big thing is he brought a facial challenge. He's basically saying his whole case was unconstitutional on its face, and those are the hardest ones to prove. So if one thing on that is he's saying everything's unconstitutional. So if one thing in that case is constitutional, he loses. And of course, we knew he was going to lose, and he did lose 8-1. But that one was Thomas, and I like Thomas.
Clarence, and I'm a big fan of Thomas Clarence. And
absolutely, he's my favorite.
And the sad part is, I agreed with him.
Clarence Thomas, boss.
Clarence Thomas. What did I call him?
Thomas Clarence.
Thomas Clarence. Okay, bad. Wow. Clarence Thomas.
Okay.
And have you seen his biography, the movie he made about his life? Oh, dude, if you get a chance, that's one of the best movies, and he speaks in it, and it really makes Biden look like a jackass. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
that's okay. That's okay.
We both agreed Clarence Thomas made the right decision on this.
Absolutely. Well, you and I both agree with that, because I think all gun laws are illegal, period. And the only time they take your gun rights is while you're in prison. Because you are basically, you lose all your rights when you go to prison. Remember back in the old West, you'd get out of prison, they'd hand you your guns. A lot of them went and became sheriffs.
Yep.
And I believe in that. But here's what the court said, and I'm going to read this one because I don't have a photographic memory. If you are found after a judicial proceeding to be a physically violent danger to someone else, you can be disarmed temporarily. So, the DOJ didn't get what they wanted, and there was a couple positives in that court. Like the court again articulated the Second Amendment as they said that the Second Amendment it codifies a pre-existing right, and that's another thing that the DOJ didn't like. But you mark my words, they're going to find the other way on non-violent felons. I have a feeling about this. Here's the deal that a lot of people don't know. Under federal law, if you get a felony and you can get up to 1 year in prison, you don't have to. They can fine you they can give you 2 days or whatever. But if you could have got 1 year, you can never have a gun again. And if you get a misdemeanor and you can get 2 years, and we talked about this earlier, 2 years in state prison, then you can never have your guns again. But I mean, so now they're making laws like I believe it's Massachusetts, it might be Vermont. It's one of those small states over there. They actually have a jaywalking law that's 5 years, and you can get 5 years in prison. So nobody's ever got it, but if you go in there and just give you a fine, whatever, you could have got 5 years in prison. You can never have guns again. That's ridiculous.
Right.
And this is a natural born. This is not a right that the government gives. It's a natural born right. When you're born, you have this right.
Right.
And it's antecedent to government by tens of thousands of years. So these people are crazy. They just want, this is total control. They just want government. They just want the military and the police to have guns. And we've already seen that movie. It was called Schindler's List.
Right.
So we know how that turns out.
It doesn't turn out too well for the people who are disarmed. You're an American Indian. The American Indians, the worst thing they ever were forced to do was to give up their guns. And when they gave up their guns, it was over with for the the American Indians. You know what I mean? They were pretty much.
I got about a quarter Cherokee, but the Cherokee got screwed way early and got put on the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
But I agree. Look at the history. Everybody giving up their guns. What happens next? Mass murder and then total control. So we can never give up our guns. That's what they want. We can't allow it. But
you look at any leftist movie and usually it's a sci-fi, usually it's a thriller, where one person has the gun and everyone else doesn't have the gun. What's the first thing they want to do? They want to take the gun from the person who has a gun because they want to be the one in charge. And the guy with the gun wants to keep that authority. So he has to be the most brutal person there is in the group if he wants to keep that gun. Right. And every movie you've ever watched, that is, when you see that scenario being played out, it's always the same way. Everyone wants the gun because it gives you the ability to defend yourself. Yep. And it just blows my mind that these leftists are making the movies that depict our exact point. Of course, these leftists made Death Wish too. Yeah. I think Death Wish is a good example of what happens when the justice system breaks down. And of course, I don't believe the justice system is broken down. It's been sabotaged and it's intentional.
Oh, I think we have a coup going on. No doubt in my military mind. We have a coup going on, and I think it's been going on for a long time. And I think it was even going on when Trump was in office. I think he was getting blocked at everywhere he went.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a lot smarter this time and take care of some of these problems. So, and I do think that if Trump doesn't get back in, we lose our country, or we're in a deep revolution for many, many years.
I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see what choice we have. It's either that or put the chains on they've been forging.
So just to be clear on this case right here, one of the things that Rahimi, who was the defendant who was being charged, actually, he would be the plaintiff in this case, wouldn't he? Or would he be?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, he'd be the plaintiff in this case. Well, he was a dirtbag. He was a douchebag. Right. We all know it.
He was like a George Floyd, only not quite as bad.
Yeah, right. And so no one's going to take pity on this guy, even though I agree with Clarence Thomas, the one dissenting judge. The fact is that this only nullified the law in this case. It wasn't a constitutionally wide case. It didn't change any laws other than what the determination was in this individual case. So people who are making a big deal out of it, it's not a big deal because this is going to be decided on again once another case comes up.
Right. And there's several nonviolent felon cases coming up. And I believe one of them at least will get to the Supreme Court. In fact, it was Massachusetts the other day. I don't know if it was a district court or an appeals court. This guy had his gun. What the hell did he do? Oh yeah. So he had a CHL for like 20 years, and then he drove over the wrong boundary, and they caught him with a gun, and he lost his guns. He wasn't. Well, they took his gun and they took his permit, and he wasn't allowed to get another one for years. And he fought this in court, and finally they said, "This is bullshit," and they used the Bruin methodology, and they said, "Yeah, this is a nonviolent offense. He gets his gun back," and I think that's a good start, anyways.
Yeah. And I think that will eventually happen. They will have a ruling or a decision that affects all of those cases, because I don't care. I think if you're determined to be violent enough that we shouldn't give you your guns back, then you should never leave fucking prison. Okay, that's the way.
I think you ought to hang them on the steps, man.
Yeah,
if they're
there you
bad,
go.
They're never going to reform. Go hang them.
Go hang them. The recidivism rate, it would take it down to nothing, because nobody who's been hanged is going to be coming back to commit the crimes. Right. And a lot of people who are looking at people getting hanged for these crimes aren't going to be committing them. So
and how much money are we going to save?
Yeah. And we'll save a fortune. And so, I totally agree with the fact that, like you said, that most felons, once they serve their time, once they've been through the process, they've been through the system, they paid their debt, they come out of the cell, just like in the old cowboy movies. Here's your guns. Here's your right to vote. Here's your your driver's license. You know what I mean? Right. All of it should come back.
And with the exception of maybe a few politicians. Just kidding.
And well, and look at all the chomos, the child molesters out there. It's
I think you got to hang them
hang those first. Yeah. But no, that's, we'll be called racist somehow for that. I don't know if that's racism or just common sense. But
I've come to the opinion that it's none of my business what anybody else thinks of me. None of my business what anybody thinks of me, so I don't care.
Good deal. So that was a pretty interesting case that they just decided on. But this was another one that just came up, and I
my goodness.
The U.S. Surgeon General decides or declares gun violence a public health emergency. This is COVID. This is what they did during COVID. This is how they shut down the country. This is how they forced people to take vaccines. And this is how they're going to take our guns away, or at least try. I think it's a lousy, sorry attempt, and I think the courts are going to stop this.
Well, it's called the firearm violence, a public health crisis in America. It's just them trying to take your guns from, by medical fiat, or how would you say that? They want your doctors to take your guns from you.
Medical fiat is actually a pretty good term for that. Medical fiat.
I didn't think it made sense. So here's what they decided. We should take guns. Or no, that's what I'm saying. We should start with taking guns from the government. If it's, then there'd be no more crisis. You wouldn't be having so many people getting murdered. But their conclusion was the best way to save lives is to leave people unarmed and helpless so they can't defend themselves. Let's use that with, I don't know, cars. How about cars? If somebody drunk drives, should we just take all the cars?
Yeah.
So nobody will get in a car crash? Should we take away all the swim pools so nobody will drown? These guys are idiots. He said the problem is not the people, but the guns. Well, what about the 2.5 million DGUs, or defensive gun uses, in this country that they always ignore? They
completely ignore that. How many lives have been saved because there was a person with a gun there?
And how many crimes have been permitted? I mean,
who we never even know about. I watch those shows where they, it's like live cam, or they do doorbell cam, and they see someone coming out with a gun and stopping a crime. And a lot of times those aren't even reported. So there are a lot of crimes that have been prevented because somebody flashed a gun. And I know for myself, coming from the barrio, I used to carry a gun, and I remember one time walking down the street and someone was getting smart with me and told me that they literally told me they were going to rob me. I turned around and showed them my belt buckle, and
that's all
immediate. Backed right up.
Yeah. And Yeah, I was just going to say that a lot of they don't really know how. I mean, they've had several of these studies. Some of them been said over 4 million. I think that was the Clinton administration even 4.1 million defensive gun use, but some of them been down as low as 1.5 million. Some of them have even said 500,000. But either way, if you take how many people are killed with a gun every year, about 30,000. You take away 60% of those are suicides. You take away the gun shooting or the gang shootings, and you're left with about 2,000 to 3,000 murders with a gun,
Right.
which is about, I can't remember exactly, but it was like 0.0000004% of the population or something. I'm just making up a number, but it wasn't even close to 1%. So you're talking, I mean, any number of deaths is bad, but when you got 360 million people and like 0.4% are getting killed by guns, that ain't much. How about the 250, depending on which stat you look at, the 250 to 750,000 people that die in hospitals because of either disease or bad medication. You know, they killed them with medication.
Malpractice.
Yeah.
Malpractice kills.
Yes.
Yeah, half the deaths of people who die in a hospital is because of malpractice. And
it's way. I mean, I just lost my mother, and I'm pretty sure they killed her. I know they killed her on purpose. They put her on morphine, and I knew.
Yep.
We told them, hold off, we're coming, and they no, we got to do it. And by the time we got there, she was dead. And she was talking to me too. She was talking to me the day before. So it's ridiculous. These people need to get a life. And they need to leave my rights alone and your rights alone.
Well,
But
and that's what happens. They protect us from ourselves.
No, and I can tell you why. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, well, anytime they protect us from ourselves, really what they're doing is denying someone their right to do something that may harm someone else. But if it doesn't matter because nobody was harmed. And my right to swing my fist ends at your right not to be hit in the nose. So, stop this stuff, this nonsense, because like you said, they don't, are we going to have a Twinkie law? I mean, I'm way over 250 pounds now. I'm about 250, 255. I think I was weighing at the doctor.
You're that big? I didn't think you were that big.
Oh my God. I've been putting on weight like nobody's business. And what's next? Am I going to be on a forced regiment and a diet that they're going to put on me because I eat too many Oreos at night? And the only one who's doing it is me. You know what I mean? Nobody's forcing those smoothies down my throat.
In all fairness, the obesity problem in this country is caused by their food recommendations. They are so wrong on everything, but that's for another day.
Right.
But I read the study the other day, and so in this study they figured the top 1% in the study were people who went to Ivy League colleges like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and graduated. Plus, started out making over $150,000 a year. Plus, lived in a big city. These people, it was this group against everybody, and they polled them, and they asked them, the regular people. So they asked them, "Would you rather lose an election or steal an election?" And the regular people, 7% said, "I'd rather steal it." But you know what the percentage is of those people who thought they were better than us? It was 36%. These are the people that are in DC. These are the people who are running banks. These are the people who think they're better. They think they're better than us. They think we're stupid. And I'm sure that a lot of them are evil, but I mean, probably not all of them are evil. They really literally think they're better than us and that we're their slaves and they should control us, that what their decisions can make a better world.
Yeah, they know better. They know what's best for us. Fauci is the best example of that. Fauci, what a condescending piece of crap he was. I mean, at first it's, you don't have to wear a mask. The masks are not, no one needs those masks. Then it was, you only need one mask, but it only has to be for the sick people. Oh no, everyone needs a mask. Now we need 2 masks. Fucking A, put 3 masks on your face, And
it's all been proven. It was all bullshit.
It was all bullshit.
I go to my doctor now. I have 3 doctors. 2 of them still wear masks. And I tell them, would you like me to bring you in 30 scientific studies proving that those don't work? No, they're ignorant now. I can't even stand going to them. And my other doctor's a naturopath, but he's also been to medical school, and he's been a doctor for 45, 50 years. And the guy knows his crap. He never wore a mask. In fact, they tried to take his license because of that. But just finishing up on this case, they said, here's what their suggestions: universal background checks, storage laws. I mean, surprise, surprise, expand the red flag laws.
Of course.
Ban commonly owned firearms, which they call assault weapons, and commonly owned magazines, which they call, well, you know what they are, 30-round magazines and crap. Create more free murder zones. We need more of those because, everybody that gets killed in those. Treat firearms like other consumer products, I suppose, so they can sue. But that's what they come up with. And they wanted to make firearms a public health issue. This all sounds fascist to me.
Well, it is. That's once again, they know what's best. They know what's best, and they're going to tell us. And if they can't control the gun, they'll control the bullets. They'll control the ammunition. If they can't control the ammunition, we'll outlaw the magazine. Of course, they'll call it a clip because they don't know the difference between a clip and a magazine anyway. So,
no, and then we got to go after the banks because they loan. They you use your. Well, first, let's put everybody on digital currency.
Yep.
And then let's control what they can and can't buy, and we can just get rid of guns like that. I ain't going to do digital currency no matter what. But
well, let me ask you: don't you kind of do digital currency now? Do you got a credit card? You got a debit card?
Honest to goodness, 90% of the time I use cash, but I use my credit. I use my credit card for gas, but I pay it off every month. But I understand what you're saying. Somebody tried to argue with me about this the other day, and I was not going to do it. I don't like credit cards. If they didn't exist, I'd be just fine.
Right. Right.
Oh, my dog back there whining.
Oh, damn those dogs. Love those dogs. So the next one I want to talk about, and I didn't send you the link to it, but the Supreme Court overturns federal bump stock ban, siding with Austin gun dealer. And this is the one that came out of Texas, where the Texas court, I think it was the Michael Cargill,
Texas owner of the District Court, wasn't it?
Yep, and it was the 63 decision Friday. Of course, the 6 conservatives voting against 3 of the liberal wackos that are on the Supreme Court. But I was trying to see which court this came out of. It was in Texas, and I thought it was the 5th district. I'm not sure, but once again, they said it violated. The case was filed by Michael Cargill, the owner of Central Texas Gun Works and an outspoken proponent of gun rights in Texas. After he surrendered 2 bump stocks to the ATF, he argued that ATF incorrectly identified bump stocks as machine guns and overstepped its power by banning them.
Well, this is an important case because it's one of 3 that we're going to talk about, I imagine.
Okay.
We won. The ATF got their ass handed to them. First of all, I don't know if you ever shot a bump stock. They suck, I think. But
I've never shot one, but everyone I've ever heard or talked about who's used one, that's exactly what they say.
Yeah, I mean, you know how to shoot a firearm. You got to keep everything still.
Yep.
And if you got to push forward on the gun and shoot it, it's a gimmick in my opinion. But it's very important they don't ban it, because if they can ban that, what can't they ban? They can ban anything. They can start calling anything a machine gun.
Yeah,
so
it was a spray and pray. You just take that sucker and you blow it into a crowd, and it's a spray and pray. You just hope you hit somebody.
And this is one of the few mistakes Trump made by banning this. He caved into political pressure. And I've investigated this lots. I know what was going on in Las Vegas. I can't, if I tell you, you'd think I was nut, but it's not what you think. And honestly, it was a gun running scheme by the feds. And it was a attempted murder on a Saudi prince, and he got away on a helicopter. But I saw when this happened, I was watching YouTube or something. I was watching something, and this lady came in, and she was right there below where they were shooting, filming. And I think it's off the internet now, but you could see machine guns firing out of one window and about 4 floors above her too. There was more than one room shooting, and from everything I've read, there was not any bump stocks there. So they used that to ban bump stocks, but and to cover their behind.
You know what the problem is, though, Chris? Look what just happened to Alex Jones,
right?
Because of what he said about Sandy Hook, and I think he's wrong about Sandy Hook. I I know a lady who lives here in Coos Bay who actually had a nephew killed at the Sandy Hook school. So I don't agree with him on that, but I think he has every right to believe it and to say it, because the reason they went after him, whether he's right or wrong, and I'm not saying either way, but whether he's right or wrong, the reason they went after him and are still going after him and going to seize his studio and stuff is because they wanted to silence anyone who questions any mass shooting where the story that they're telling is conflicting with the facts on the ground. And I agree with you. There is more to that Las Vegas story than we'll ever know. And I would love to hear that.
I have a video or an audio recording in my last phone. My last phone went dead. I wish I would download it. And it's these guys talking about it. They think they're not being listened to, and they tell the whole story. And, I used to be in the Oath Keepers regional and national intel group. And we talked to people all over, people from, excuse me, even in the White House. We had people in fusion centers, New York cops on our calls. And these guys are real high up intel guys. And I mean, we didn't talk about this specifically, but it was during that time that I found out that there were no bump stocks there. And I just read it. I can't remember what I read it in an article the other day. There was no bump stocks there. They've never proven there was.
From what I heard from people who are experts with using bump stocks, they even say that the sound of the shooting,
it didn't sound right.
It didn't sound right.
No. And I saw the firing from the windows, and it wasn't a bump stock. Those were machine guns. And I mean, in my opinion, that's what they were. I was in the Army. I've heard a lot of machine guns fired and seen a lot of muzzle blasts. And I mean, even if they were, they're not that accurate. How are you going to shoot that far and kill people with a bump stock? I just don't see it happening. But
yeah, we will someday, I think someday, somewhere, because you know how people get older, they start meeting, they realize they're going to meet their maker. And so they decide, I'm going to just spill the beans. I think that's eventually going to happen on a lot of different stories, but specifically that Las Vegas shooting, because I'm telling you right now, it stinks to high heaven. It does. Bad.
Well, the number 3 Saudi guy was up there in a room above in higher floors, and they were this is what I heard. They were going to assassinate him because they didn't want him, because I can't remember if the first guy died, the second guy, number 2 guy, was sick, and he was going to become the king, or what it was. But they were going to murder that guy, and there was a gun running scheme going on with the FBI. Supposedly that guy got killed in the room was a Fed. But there's something real suspicious. You saw the pictures of the room, right? You saw all them guns. I didn't see a pile of brass. Did you?
I didn't think of looking, to be honest with you, but that's the kind of thing.
I mean, first thing I looked for, they were pop, 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 pop. For a long time. There had to be a pile of brass somewhere. But I don't trust it. You can't trust. I mean, you can't trust. I mean, why wouldn't the sheriff talk? I mean, there's a lot of questions there.
A lot of questions. I could sit there, and anyone who is familiar with the case, who's worked on the case, I would love to have an hour of their time just to sit there and ask them different questions. So before I go any further, what were the other cases that you wanted to talk about?
So you remember that rule that the ATF tried to, or they were passing, that basically if you sold your own personal firearm and made a profit, you became a gun dealer. And that was just to expand on their list, so they know where to go to take them. Well, that got overturned. That was found unconstitutional. What's this one?
Hold on. No, I don't have it.
Okay. Well, that's about all I know about that case, but I read it. I read a little bit of it, and that was the right. They said they told the ATF they didn't have the right to. Oh, I gotta let my dog out real quick. I think he's got to go. You gotta go? Come on.
So what he was talking about, that there was a case where they had told the ATF that they
don't have the authority to legislate, and basically,
and it was huge. This is a huge case because that's going to affect a lot of things out there as far as government bureaucracies regulating law when they shouldn't be regulating law. They should only be enforcing the law of the authority that the legislature gives them. The problem is that the legislature leaves everything so open-ended and such a wide spectrum that they can pretty much do whatever the hell they want.
Sometimes I think that the Supreme Court's trying to just keep themselves in business because they could just make a wide sweeping opinion and get rid of all this shit at once. And the third one we won on was pistol braces. They said that's unconstitutional. You cannot, you don't just put a pistol brace on a pistol and it becomes a rifle. Sorry, it doesn't. That's not going to work. They changed that. They had the rule for 12 years that you could have a pistol brace on, and they put them on there for veterans so that veterans could that were crippled could strap them on their arm and be able to shoot.
Right.
But they decided if you had one of them, you were a felon. And you can't do that. You can't make a rule for 12 years and then turn around and change it. A lot of people threw their pistol braces away. I wonder how much money that cost totally. But so we won those 3 in a row, and then we had I don't really think we lost Rahimi. I think we kind of won and kind of lost. It's kind of, gray area there to me. But the Bruin methodology, as long as that sticks around, I think they're all going to fall one by one. And I believe we're not going to see an ATF in about 10 or 15 years.
I certainly hope so. That would be nice to do away with that. And
where they're thugs.
Agency.
Look what they did to that guy in, where was it? Was it Arkansas? The guy that was the head of the airport. They came up. They got.
Oh yeah.
They came up. They disabled his outdoor camera. And by the way, I read the warrant. They didn't have to do that. They said they would come sometime between 6 a.m. and 9 o'clock. I don't remember.
I imagine, really, Chris, all they had to do was knock on the door and ask him to come out politely, and he would have.
Or get him when he's going to work, whatever. No, but they went there to murder him. They taped over his door, kicked in the door. I mean, what would you do? Would you respond with a pistol?
You're damn right. I'd be at the door with a gun in their face.
Yeah. We don't know if they announced themselves because none of them had body cams. 10 of them didn't have body cams.
Imagine that.
And then they waste this dude because he sold a gun and made $200. Are you kidding me? That he built himself. It's ridiculous. These people need to be held accountable. That's what I hate. I hate qualified immunity. I freaking hate it. It says you're above the law. You can get away with murder. And I don't like it.
Black Lives Matter. That was one of the few things I agreed with him on, is qualified immunity.
Well, the other thing I really don't like is that, what do they call that when they steal your money? It's
confiscation.
No. I got it here somewhere. What is it? We got this. Dadgummit. My brain, I'm having old man brain right now.
You mean when they take your property, your house, your forfeiture?
No. It's you can literally be driving down the road, get pulled over by a cop, and he searched your car and find $50,000. You're going to buy a truck or something, and he says, I think you got this from a crime. And he doesn't charge you with a crime. He just takes your money. So now you got to sue him to get it back. And this happens all the time.
Yeah.
You assume to get it back. But here they got a little game they play with the feds. A lot of times they send it to the feds. Fed sends them a percentage. So they split it. And the federal government does this too. So now you got to go sue them to get your money back. And a lot of times it's not worth it. You're going to spend $50,000 suing them.
Yeah.
You don't get your court costs. And so there was recently a congressman that they stole $300,000 from him. He said, I want my money back. And they said, well, ATF tried to make a deal with him, said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 2/3 of it back if you sign off on the other third. He said, screw you. I'm just going to go pass the law.
Yeah.
So what is that called? It's called, I can't believe this. I'm not thinking of it right now.
Seizure.
I will.
Seizure, forfeiture, confiscation.
It's seizure, but it's dadgummit. What is it called? Most people don't know what this is, but I listen to an attorney that talks about it all the time. Just tons of cases.
They used to do it in New Mexico on a regular basis. They'd pull you over. They'd go, well, you have an inordinate amount of cash, so we're going to seize that cash, and you have to prove yourself innocent.
Civil asset forfeiture. And
Civil asset forfeiture. So
look what they did down in California. So there was this freaking pot. Well, I think they were making medicinal pot, a great big warehouse, and they would have a armored car take their money to the bank every week. The sheriff pulled over the armored car, robbed it, civil asset forfeiture.
Yep.
Not once, but twice. And they're still fighting for their money. And
there was a sheriff in Southern California who wanted a piece of property, and he had somebody claim that on this property they had a marijuana grow. So of course, because of that claim, he went out there. The guy who owned the property ended up getting killed. It was the same type of thing, no knock warrant.
Mm-hmm.
They go in, and then he seized the whole ranch. And like a year later, they found enough evidence against the sheriff to prove that he was illegally seizing property because it connected to his property, or it was property that was of extra value to him. And he finally ended up going to jail for life. And I forget where that happened in Southern California, but in Albuquerque, that happened on a regular basis where they would go in and say, hey, you have too many strange calls on your hotel, too many calls to the police, too many calls to the fire department. So we're seizing your hotel. And then the city would sell that same lot of really nice real estate, but used to be owned by a crappy hotel owner. Didn't matter. It was his property. They seized that property for, stupid reasons. And then they resell it to like a Marriott or a Holiday Inn. And the city would make a fortune on going in and ruining people's lives.
Yeah. Theft is theft, even if done by government. And I think you should shoot them in the face if they try that crap, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just bullshit. And I have a buddy that's a retired deputy sheriff for 36 years, and he thinks the same way.
Oh, it's amazing how many cops. I wanted to talk about this next story because this kind of ties into the ATF, and I don't know what I did with the slide on the ATF, but this one is the SCOTUS delivers a stinging rebuke to federal bureaucracies. And what had happened in this case is that the United States Supreme Court on Thursday, today, Thursday morning, released its opinion on Securities and Exchanges Commission versus Jarkissi, and delivered a stinging rebuke to federal bureaucrats in the administrative state. The case dealt with the Securities and Exchange Commission practicing and seeking civil penalties against defendants accused of securities fraud in-house before an administrative law judges without a jury trial. A significant unchecked power wielded by federal bureaucrats. The question before the Supreme Court was whether the Seventh Amendment permits the SEC to compel respondents to defend themselves before the agency rather than before a jury in a federal court. And it was a 6-3 decision that, yes, this violated this man's Seventh Amendment right. And I think this is going to be a huge blow to a lot of bureaucracies that use administrative law judges to enforce their arcane regulations. And you know what I'm talking about. You look at BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, or the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I mean, look at the shit they do to people.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I read this case, but
yeah, that was just today.
These bureaucracies are way out of control. They think they act like they're the legislature, but the legislature doesn't do anything. I mean, they let the president do whatever the hell he wants. He gets to declare wars. Now they let the bureaucracies, they're just sitting back there, making money off of stocks, off of a law they just passed. I mean, look at these guys are making 300, some of them 300% profits off their stocks. That's all they give a damn about. The day they're elected, the day they get reelected in their stock market.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not doing their job, in my opinion.
Just the fact, like you said, that the legislature, not only of the United States, but of the legislature of many states, have acquiesced their authority to the administrative state or to their governor. And that's why you have their ability in the governor's office and the presidential office to put out these incredibly just draconian emergency orders. There is no such a thing in the Constitution. You look in the Constitution, there is no emergency order clause. There is no clause that says they can't declare this emergency, that emergency, or the other.
The only emergency clause in the Constitution is the militia. And
Right.
the government, there's a reason why our founders didn't put an emergency clause, because they knew everything would become an emergency. They knew the human nature. They studied history. They saw it. And that's why I refuse to obey any emergency mandates. A mandate is something that gay guys do. It's not a law.
Took me a second, but that's fine.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, these guys are, well, we're living in tyranny right now. What can I say?
Right.
And we just got to stand up at every chance we get. We got to keep.
I agree with you, and I appreciate you doing the recall. I appreciate all the work that you do. Before I get you out of here,
you too.
What's anything you want to tell the listeners before you go?
No, I'm just going to say that, I like to say this, that there's two kind of people. You're the little fuzzy bunny rabbit or you're a great big grizzly bear. And if you don't know which one you are, you ain't no damn grizzly bear. Everybody needs to become grizzly, start using their claws and their voice and their growls and their teeth and fight these guys at every turn. Don't be afraid to talk. And we got to get out and vote, man. We got to get out and vote. I know some people, I just had two kids that their dad called me, said they threw their ballots in the garbage. I called them up and chewed on them for about an hour until they voted. But I remember Kim Thatcher winning one of her elections by 6 votes. You can't say your vote doesn't count.
Right.
But if we don't vote, it doesn't count.
Especially on these local elections. These local elections are so damn close in some cases.
Well, there's so many people that died so they would have the right to vote. We got to vote.
Yeah.
And we got to let our voices be heard. Otherwise, what good's the First Amendment? You don't have it. So
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, man, just remember you're Americans. Remember how many people have died for you. You know what? I encourage people to watch. Go on YouTube, watch go watch Schindler's List, or just go watch on YouTube the concentration camps, because that's coming. Yeah. That is coming, man. But,
and the sad part is that those concentration camps exist all over the world.
Yeah.
And America is one of the few places in the free world left that doesn't have those concentration camps yet.
They tried. They were going to build them, and during COVID, and look up in Canada, they built some.
Yep.
And look what they're doing to Canada right now. Canada is. You think we're having bad? I've been keeping an eye on Canada. Those guys.
They're bought and paid for by China. China owns their ass.
Oh yeah, a guy. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was an activist. He just came over there from the UK, and just for giving a speech, they arrested him.
Is that Palawaski?
No. I actually talked to him a few months ago before they were going to put him in prison for 10 years. And I told him, you know what? There's so many illegals coming over. Why don't you come over here? We'll fight for liberty together. That way you don't have to go to prison. He said, nope. He's trusting in God's will. And I don't think they've arrested him yet, but so hopefully he'll get him.
I've had him on the show a couple of times when I had the radio show. So I'm going to try to get him back on. I was going to call him because the last time I talked to him, he was waiting for that arrest.
Yeah. Yeah. We had him on a radio show about probably 2 months ago. I don't know. I'm getting old, man. 2 or 3 months ago, I guess. I've had him on a couple times. And, I really admire that guy because really he don't have any backup. He's just doing this all on his own, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't seen any backup, and
people are scared.
And even Jordan Peterson. I mean, he's not that guy. He's lost everything. He's lost his. I think did they take his license to practice psychology? I
can't remember. They had a court decision forcing him to go back to some re-education program.
Yeah, and
I don't know if he went through it or not, but I'll tell you what, he gets millions and millions of views for the videos he does. And I just absolutely dig his videos. I think he is such an intellectual, inspiring person that I don't always agree with him. I mean, I'll have you that, but I think he's very intelligent, and I think he talks to a lot of very intelligent people out there. on his show. I think
He's
they're
not
just
quite as smart. He's not quite as smart as Kevin Sterrett, because I know he'll probably watch this.
Yeah,
He's
that is true.
He's pretty smart.
Yes. Kevin should be a political therapist. I think he would do well as in that profession. Well, man, I want to thank you for coming on. Well, let's get you back on again.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Give me 2 days notice next time.
I'll give you 2 days notice. I know. I forgot. I was.
That's all right.
Wow, they just happened so fast. It's been an incredibly fast month. So
hey,
I
Rob,
appreciate
you're
it,
one of my favorite people, man. I'd do anything for you. You've helped me a lot in the past. You've taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot from you. And I might even be calling you up when I do this recall.
Cool.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to try and do it all myself. I've never written the original statement. Always one of you guys did. So I'm basically just going to put down that she's pushing DEI in our county, and we don't like it, and she's wasting our money, and we want her gone.
If that's what she's doing, that's pretty much what you write. You know what I mean? That's you make it as plain as day. And the reason you do that is because anytime you go through that process, you know how they want to change things. And the more plain you make it, the better it is, because they can't change it too much. So
Right.
Yeah.
And there's one more. Well, I don't know if I should. Yeah, I better not. I was going to talk about somebody else, but I'll just wait.
All right, wait on that, because we can get back to that one. I think that's going to continue on. I think there's going to be legal issues going on there. So
I think so.
Right,
but I think lefties are falling left and right. That's all that matters.
Well, what do you expect? They have no morality whatsoever, and that's going to bite them in the ass.
Well, I hope your audience, God be blessed, all your whole audience, and we'll talk to you next time then.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. And thank you for coming on. You're a good friend, and I appreciate it much.
Thanks,
you take
Rob.
care.
Be good.
Bye-bye.
Talk to
All right. And that was Chris Brumbles. I always enjoy Chris. He does an excellent job of coming on here and putting out his opinion. And I always appreciate his opinion. It's, he's one of those guys where I can talk to him, and he's a barometer of my own decisions on different issues, because I can go, oh, okay, well, Chris agrees with me on this. I must be somewhere in the ballpark. So that's just, you got to appreciate people when they're good at having a grounding of what the situation is, the logistics, and politics is one of those animals that you can get it wrong. You can get it wrong sometimes, and that's just what happens. And I hope we get a lot of people watching. I hope a lot of people check it out, because I think this was a really good show. But I do have to remind you that there is a windmill rally happening on July 13th. This is at high noon, Saturday, July 13th at the Coos Bay Boardwalk. And please come out. Please come out and help us stop these windmills. And I shouldn't even call them windmills, because windmills actually work. The real old-fashioned windmill, they actually work. They serve a purpose. These wind turbines, the more I learn about these wind turbines, the more I know this is nothing but a huge boondoggle. They're pulling the wool over a lot of people's eyes. They're fooling a lot of people, making them believe that this is a good idea, and it's one of the worst ideas. It's going to be an environmental disaster. It's going to be a financial disaster. It's going to wreck the economy. It's going to destroy several industries. One of the most important industry, the fishing industry, that provides a huge amount of food for us here in Oregon and all over the world. That's right, all over the world. So high noon, Saturday, July 13th at the Coos Bay Boardwalk. And then at 2 o'clock that same day, that same Saturday, we're going down to Bandon. We're going to be on Highway 101 in front of the Visitor Center. So if you know where the Visitor Center in Bandon is, that's where we'll be, up above there on the sidewalk, up above the Visitor Center on Highway 101. And I highly recommend you guys come and check it out. But if you got nothing to do on Monday, that is July 1st at 6:30 p.m., I highly recommend all of you come out and check out Dr. Douglas Frank. Dr. Douglas Frank has been doing an immense amount of work in election integrity issues. And he's traveled all over the nation. He's traveling all over Oregon the next couple of weeks. I appreciate Dr. Douglas Frank giving us some time here in Bandon, right here in little old Bandon. This national figure who's been all over the place talking about these election integrity issues. He has all the facts, the data, everything that you want to know. He's going to tell you at the Restoration Worship Center in Bandon, across from Ray's, this coming Monday, July 1st at 6:30 p.m. And I highly recommend you get out there and check out Dr. Frank because he has a lot to offer. And let's see, we got a meeting, Board of Commissioners meeting happening this coming up Tuesday, 9:30 a.m., Tuesday, July 2nd. This is the Tuesday following the Dr. Frank event. So 9:30 in the morning, they're still working on the different cuts that they're going to make in the county level. I haven't checked out the agenda yet, but if you want to get involved, this is a good way to get involved. If you live in the city of Coos Bay, the city of Coos Bay is also having a city council meeting the same night, that Tuesday, July 2nd, at the City Hall building at 6 p.m. This is once again the Coos Bay City Council meeting, the regular meeting at the City Hall building, 500 Central Avenue, Coos Bay, Oregon, 6 p.m. Tuesday, July 2nd. And Monday, I didn't know whether to promote this meeting because it happens during the same time that Dr. Frank is happening, but you can watch it. You can watch the replay of this. The City of Bandon is having their regular City Council meeting Monday, July 1st, but I wouldn't go to that. I'd go to the Dr. Frank event. I think that's going to be a much better event. What can I tell you? That's just, my feelings on that. And 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. 3H Tree Service. If you need to get rid of some problem trees, some trees that are infested with bugs, that have become a liability, you're afraid they're going to fall on your fence, your house, your neighbor's house, 3H Tree Service can remove those trees with surgical precision. They come in, they take those trees down, they remove them, they clean up the place, they do a really nice job. I have high recommendations for Matt Holman and the Holman men who do 3H Tree Service. I highly recommend, if you need to take care of some of those outdoor tree problems, call 541-294-1800. And if you get a chance, go check out their Facebook page. Matt is always putting these videos up of the work he does, and it's just incredible. I really think one of these days he's going to hit a viral video of doing one of those jobs where he's 90 feet in the air, he's topping the tree, and it's overlooking the ocean. I mean, he does some really badass work and dangerous work, really dangerous work. And so that's why it takes a person who is highly qualified to take out some of the worst tree problems you might have. So give them a call. Check out their Facebook page, 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. And, of course, Tom and Gigs at 135 South Shoneman Street, Coos Bay, Oregon, for all those automotive needs. They can do side rails, they can do tonneau covers, they can do headlights, they can do those light bars, those big old light bars that go on your hunting truck. You might need some of those. What can I say? I don't know. You got to go Bigfoot hunting? Go to Tom and Gigs and get one of those big light bars and light up the whole place. And you can get an RC car there as well. RC boats and helicopters. I think they still got some boats and helicopters. Excuse me. But yeah, they are a great place to go and check out. And if you got a kid who's interested in RC cars, or you have an RC car and you need parts for it, Tom and Gigs is the place to go. Once again, 135 South Shoneman. And Herbal Choices for all those cannabis needs. You can go to Herbal Choices. They've got the highest variety of different cannabis and chewables. And you can get bongs and pipes there, all kinds of different things at Herbal Choices. You have to be 21 or over to purchase anything there or even enter the building, but you should only be 21 or over to be using those products. So use them wisely at Herbal Choices. Herbal Choices Cannabis. They have 5 stores, one in South Bandon, one in Coos Bay, one in North Bend, one in Reedsport, and one in Charleston. And I've been to all their stores, beautiful places, feel totally safe. They're a great place to go. I highly recommend Herbal Choices Cannabis. And Oregon Firearms Federation. Oregon Firearms Federation, the only no-compromise gun group in the country. That's not what I meant to say. In the state, Oregon Firearms Federation, the only no-compromise gun group in the state of Oregon, not one of those phony gun groups that some Republicans made up so that they could actually get endorsements for Republicans who really don't support your Second Amendment rights. No, not one of those organizations. This is a legitimate organization. This is Oregon Firearms Federation. They've been around for 30 years. They've got Measure 114 locked up in court. They're always taking a lot of these state initiatives and they're taking them to court, and they're pretty damn successful on what they've done. They've done a great job representing you, the people, and protecting your Second Amendment rights. So give a shout out to Kevin Starrett. Go to OregonFirearms.org and become a member. Sign up for their alerts. This is very important stuff. If you want to participate in our constitutional republic, I highly recommend the one way to protect your Second Amendment is join Oregon Firearms Federation. And they're not my sponsors, but I always like to mention them. Bandon Gun Club, if you want to go practice with your pistol or check out a 5-stand trap shoot, you can do that at the Bandon Gun Club here in Bandon, bandongunclub.org. If you want to find out the time and days that they're open, bandongunclub.org. And if you got a rifle and want to sight in your rifle at a 100-yard shooting range, the Tioga Sports Park Association, who are managing Tioga Sports Park, you can take your firearm there for your training. And once again, they do rifles and they do handguns, and you can find out more at tiogasportspark.org. And that's, boy, I want to believe. Wow, I don't know where I was going with that. Let me remove that. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I really enjoyed tonight's debate. It was a very calming debate. It makes you feel real good about Trump. He's really become quite the statesman, wouldn't you say? And I think he did a great job of defending himself, defending his record, and thwarting some of the crazy accusations coming from that old man Biden. Old man Biden! You know, he's a crazy son of a bitch. You don't want to put him back in office. We want to put Trump back in office. And I think there are a lot of people out there who have buyer's remorse who are going to vote for Trump. I certainly hope so. One of the best 4 years of my life for presidency was the Trump presidency. 4 of the best years of my life. No doubt about it. It was great. Actually watching somebody fight against the deep state, fighting against the administration, fighting against the globalists, fighting against the communists. Not being a communist, that was even better. You know, it's bad enough when they don't fight against the communists, but when they're communists themselves and they're politicians, well, that sucks. And we got to get rid of that. So, we'll work on that. So I'm going to be back on Monday. And remember, Monday, I'm going to be on at 6:30 because I'm going to be on location at the Dr. Frank event. That's the Dr. Douglas Frank event at Restoration Worship Center. Restoration Worship Center right across from Ray's in Bandon, 6:30 this Monday, July 1st. And maybe you can comment on the camera. If you want to come to the event, you hang around after the event, you can always comment when I'm standing outside. I usually stand outside after the meeting and talk to people who've attended the event to find out what they thought. You know, that's just the way I am. Well, I want to thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. And you know what I always say, and until next time, folks, carry on, America. Carry on.